Hello, my name's Abbe. I'm a physiotherapist and Pilates instructor, and today I am doing a mat work session suitable for improving beginners and intermediates. We're going to start in side lying, so we're going to get ourselves down onto the floor with a small headrest, rolled up towel, a little pillow, and we're going to find a crook lying position for clams level 2. So we're going to start with our feet up in the air, and we have about 90 degrees behind the knee. So when you look down, your feet should be level with your bottom and your shoulders roughly. We're going to make sure our hips are stacked on top of each other, and we're going to make sure that we're really lengthening through the top line. So we're pushing away that top hip to open up a little bit of space at the waist, or less pressure at that point, so that we're in a neutral position with the pelvis. Hand wherever you want it, just make sure you're nice and relaxed through the top shoulder. We're going to engage those core muscles now. So we're lifting the pelvic floor and we're pulling down on those lower abdominals, about 30%. And then holding that contraction, we're going to take a breath in to prepare, and then exhale to lift that top knee and inhale to bring it down. We're keeping it nice and smooth and controlled. Keeping the rest of the body nice and still. So when you lift the knee, you shouldn't be rocking the top hip backwards. We're keeping the pelvis completely still. So it's exhaling to lift and inhaling to lower. Nice and smooth, keeping hold of the core contraction through the whole set. Let's do 2 more. Okay, then we're going to bring the feet back to the floor, and we're going to extend away. So we're in a nice straight line now. So a straight line between your bottom hand and your bottom foot, hands on your hip, or hand here for extra balance support if you need it. Okay, we're going to start by engaging those core muscles, making sure your knees and your ankles are pointing forwards, and we're going to lift one foot to hip height, we're going to bring the other leg to meet it, and then we're going to control both of them down. So we take a breath in to prepare. We exhale to lift, inhale to lift the lower leg, exhale to bring them both down together. So lift, lift, and control it back down again, keeping the knees locked all the way through. Now if you're able to, you can take the hand away, if you're able to support yourself with the balance. Now if this is challenging enough, then carry on at this level. If you want a bit more of a challenge, you can actually lift both legs away together. So we lift both at the same time and then control it back down again. Try not to put too much pressure through the lower arm either. We're keeping the upper half nice and relaxed. Now again, if this is challenging enough, then leave it there. But if you want extra challenge, you can lift both legs away and then extend away the top line. Bring both legs back together and then both down together. So we'll do that a few more times. So whichever level you feel you're challenged by is where you want to stay. All right, we'll do one more. Lovely, okay, and then we'll lower it back down again. We're going to bend the knees back into 90 degrees, and we're going to come up onto our elbows now. So we want our hips stacked and pointing forwards. We want our elbow directly underneath our shoulder, so your upper arm is perpendicular to the floor. And we're only going to lift the rib cage. So you want a big distance between rib cage and the floor now. Okay, now what we're going to do is engage the core muscles there, and then we're going to drop down. So we're bringing the rib cage towards the floor, and then we're going to pop back up again. So we exhale down, and we inhale back up again. Now remember, we're still keeping those core muscles working while we do this to keep us nice and stable. And I don't want you to do the dropping down the shoulder if it's causing you any pain. You can just hold that upright position and it still makes the shoulder girdle work. So nice and gently in each direction, keeping hold of the core contraction. We're going to do one more. Alright, then we're going to hold the upright position while we do some movements with the leg. So it's keeping nice and upright, keeping those core muscles working. We're going to extend away through the top line, so your foot's at the same height as your hip roughly. Now keeping the rest of the body nice and still, we're going to draw that leg forward, then flex the ankle and bring it back. So it's point and forwards, flex and back. Now we're using those core muscles to keep the upper body nice and still. So you're only taking the leg as far as you can control the movement in the upper half, so we don't start acting like a counterweight with the upper half. So imagine you're drawing a line with your toe as you come forward, and you're rubbing it out with your heel as you push back. All right, we're going to do one more. And we're going to leave the leg there. We're going to make sure we're nice and upright on the shoulder. We flex the ankle, and we do 10 quick little pulses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to glide back and bring that leg back in again. Okay, now we're going to stay upright on the shoulder again, only if you're not in any pain or discomfort through the shoulder. We're going to bring our palm up to the ceiling, and we're going to do a side bend. So we take a breath in and exhale to lift up and over into a side bend, and inhale back. So we're staying upright on the shoulder, we're not allowing it to drop down with the rib cage as we lift up and over. So once the hip touches down, we stay upright. Okay, we're going to do one more. Lovely, okay. And then we're going to come out of that position and we're going to lie on our back. So we're going to find our rest position now. So adjust your headrest so that it's comfortable. We want to start with our feet and our knees about hip width distance apart, and we want a neutral pelvic position. So rock backwards and forwards with the pelvis. Find that nice level triangle across the bony points here. That's our neutral spine. We should have a small gap behind the back, but nothing exaggerated, nothing huge. You want to relax the arms down by your sides now. So palms down towards the floor. Relax the shoulder blades back so they're in contact with the floor. And then we're going to think about the head lengthening away from the rest of your body. So imagine someone's lightly tugging the back of your head away from the rest of you. So we're lengthening down the neck, and now holding that position, we're going to get those core muscles engaged. So we're lifting the pelvic floor, and we're pulling down on those lower abdominals about 30% without any extra tilting of the pelvis. And we're going to keep that going while we take some nice deep breaths now. So in your own time, in through the nose and out through your mouth. And we're concentrating on trying to keep that core contraction all the way through the breath cycle without letting it go at either end. We also want to think about expanding our lower rib cage as we take those breaths in. We're expanding the lower segments of our lungs to expand the lower rib cage so the upper chest can stay fairly relaxed. Okay, now we're going to start with the exercise called hundreds. Now you can make this more challenging by having more legs in the air. We're all going to start in single tabletop, so I want you to keep those core muscles working, and we're going to float one leg up to 90 degrees. Now if you've done double tabletop before and you're confident you can hold it appropriately, you can do the double tabletop position. You'll need to anchor down your rib cage and get your upper abdominals working a little harder so we can maintain neutral while we bring a second leg up into the air. Now if you start to pop forward with your abdomen, or you start arching away from the floor dramatically, I'd rather you bring a foot to the floor because you're not quite controlling it. But as long as you have got it under control, we're now going to lift the arms away from the floor a few inches. And then for extra challenge, and you don't have to do this bit, you can bring your shoulders away from the floor and look between your knees. Now everybody was going to pulse up and down. So little 1-inch pulses with the arms, trying to keep the rest of the body completely still. So if your neck starts to ache, you can put your head back down at any point. If you start to lose neutral, then you can bring a foot to the floor, but we keep doing the pulsing of the arms. If you want more challenge, you can straighten the legs out to 45 degrees. Makes you work harder from the center. So it's called hundreds because we're aiming for 100 pulses. I haven't been counting exactly, but I'm sure we're nearly there. We're going to do 10 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We stop with the arms, we'll bring the legs back, we'll bring the arms down, and then the legs come down one at a time, nice and safely. Control it out of that position. And then when everything's on the floor, you can relax. Okay, now we're going to do some shoulder bridges now. We'll start with just level 1 and we'll work on technique to start with. So we start back in our neutral rest position. Relax the shoulders, pelvis in neutral, engage those core muscles. We're going to take a breath in and then exhale, tuck underneath with the tailbone and peel away from the floor. So we're rolling up segmentally, take a breath in at the top and then exhale to peel back down from top to bottom, rolling all the way through the spine and back into neutral. Okay, we'll do that one more time. So breath in and exhale, tuck underneath and peel up. Breath in at the top and exhale to peel back down again. And rock back into neutral. Okay, we're going to go back up now and we're going to make it a little bit more challenging by doing some alternating hip dips while we're up in that upright position. So we take a breath in and exhale to peel up as before, tucking underneath, peeling away from the floor. Take a breath in at the top and then exhale to drop one hip down an inch or two and then inhale to bring it back up again. And again, exhaling to dip the other side and inhaling back up again. So we're dropping down and thrusting forwards in turn. Make sure that we're not leaning left to right with the knees while we do this. So it's definitely a little twist of the spine in order to drop down. And make sure we're coming all the way up in between each one. So your bottom cheeks just start to feel like they're working. Let's do one more each side. And then we're going to peel back down. So drop the rib cage down to lead the way. We're rolling through the body, getting contact with the spine all the way through and back into neutral. Okay, all right, so once we're back in neutral, we're going to start the next exercise, which is hip twist level 3. So that's a single tabletop exercise. So we're going to engage those core muscles in neutral, and we're going to bring one leg up into tabletop. Okay, now leaving everything else nice and still, we're going to take that leg out to the side a few inches and then control it back in again. And we're going to repeat that movement. So keeping the core muscles working, we exhale out and we inhale back in again. Now the idea here is that we keep the other leg completely still. Imagine you've got a glass of champagne balanced on that still leg. We've got a spirit level across the front of the hips that we're trying to keep the bubble in the center. So we're only taking the leg as far as we can keep all of that under control. We're keeping nice and relaxed through the chest, relaxed through the arms. Those core muscles are helping us keep everything nice and still. Okay, we're going to do one more. And then we'll bring that leg back down again. And we'll do the other side. So engage the core again. We bring the leg up into tabletop, and then when you're ready, we exhale out and inhale back in. And same thing, we're keeping the other leg nice and still, imagining that spirit level across the front of the hips. You can put your hands on the front of your hips as well. It gives you a bit of sensory feedback so you can feel what's going on. But if you're doing that, make sure you're not pressing through your elbows into the floor to give yourself extra stability. Make sure the shoulders are staying out of it, they're staying nice and relaxed. We'll make that the last one. And then we're going to bring that leg back down again. Okay, now, the next exercise is in sitting. So we're going to come up into this position. We are going to have our hands behind us, straight legs. Make sure you've got something comfortable under your heels. So if you've not got a mat or carpet, put a pillow underneath your heels because you're going to put quite a bit of pressure through them. Have your hands behind you a little. We've got the fingertips kind of pointing out at 45 degrees. Point away your toes. We're going to engage those core muscles now. So I want you to take a breath in and exhale to lift up with the pelvis. So you're coming up into a nice straight line, and then you're going to control it back down again. So with the breathing with this, you take a breath in to prepare. You exhale to come up. You take a breath in to hold it, and you exhale to control it back down again. And we're going to do that again. Okay, now there's a couple of ways you can make this more challenging if you want to. You don't have to, you can carry on doing that. The first way is to lift up, and once you're up there, you hold it while you slide a heel towards your bottom, and then slide it back out again. So you've got your toe in contact with the floor all the way through, and then you're going to come back down again. So the idea is when you're up there, you're trying to keep your pelvis nice and level and not dip left to right if possible. Now the second way you can make it more challenging is to lift and then hold the upright position while you extend a leg away and then control it back down. And then we're going to do that the other side. Good. And then control it back down. So we're going to do one more lift. You can do whichever challenge you want to. So engage the core and lift. And then add in your challenge if you want to. Keeping the pelvis nice and level and then control it back down again. Okay, so we are now going to roll over, so we're face down, and we're going to do some exercises in that position. We're going to start with the exercise called swimming. Now you're going to need to roll up your towel so it's bolstered up a little bit more, so you've got some space for your nose and a cushion for your forehead. Now we're going to go through the 3 different levels of swimming, 1, 2 and 3. 1 involves just your legs, 2 involves just your arms, and then 3 is both together. Okay, so we'll start with just legs. We start in this Superman pose with our feet about hip width distance apart, elbows in contact with the floor and palms facing down. And they come down a little bit here. Okay, now we're just going to involve the legs, but before we do, we want to find a neutral position for our pelvis. So I want you to rock backwards and forwards, do that pelvic tilt in this position, and then find halfway between the two. So we've got a little gap underneath our belly button, for preference. We're drawing in the tummy button and engaging those core muscles to hold that position. All right, now it's a 3-stage movement. We're going to take a breath in and then exhale to squeeze the right bottom cheek and then use that power to lift the right leg away and then inhale back down again. And then we squeeze the left bottom cheek and lift the left leg away and inhale back down again. So squeeze and lift and inhale to lower. Squeeze and lift and inhale to lower. Now I want you to imagine you've got somebody tugging your ankles away from the rest of your body, so you're really lengthening down the back of the leg when you stretch away. And you're making sure there's no twist. Your pelvis stays nice and level with the floor, and the extension comes entirely from the hip. So it's not going to be a big lift, otherwise you'll start arching your back and sinking your tummy forward. So we're just going to do 1 more each side. Keeping your tummy button in and lifted away from the floor. And then we're going to relax the legs. And now we're going to just do arms. So this time we're going to lift an arm in turn, and we're really going to try and anchor the back with the shoulder blades as we lift. So we relax forward, we engage those core muscles in neutral, take a breath in and exhale to lift one arm away from the floor and control it back down on the in-breath. And the other side, exhale to lift and inhale to lower. So there's no twisting through the rib cage, it's definitely a lift of the arm, anchoring back at the shoulder blade. Now before we get too tired through the arms, we can move to level 3, which involves legs and arms at the same time. We're alternating sides. So this time we will squeeze the right bottom cheek, lift left arm and right leg together, and then control it back down again. And then the other way, squeeze the bottom cheek and lift away. So opposite sides together, keeping the tummy button away from the floor if you can. Doesn't have to be a big lift. Now if you want to, you can try alternating simultaneously. As one side goes up, the other side goes down. Keep the tummy button in. We'll do 1 more each side. And then relax everything to the floor. Okay, now we're going to come up into 4-point kneeling now for the thread the needle exercise. So we're going to start with our knees about hip width distance apart, knees directly underneath our hips, hands a little bit further forward than shoulders so that the shoulder muscles can relax properly. And we're going to find our neutral position. So I want you to rock up and down into that little kind of mini cat stretch, and then find halfway between, so that you've got a nice level back and your pelvis is in neutral. Okay, we're going to take that position and engage our core. We're going to take a breath in to bring the right hand up and out, and then exhale to thread the needle through. So we're dropping the right shoulder, softening the left elbow, and then bring that hand back in to support you. And then we'll change sides. So we inhale to lift, and exhale through. And bring it back in again. So we're going to keep alternating sides. Dropping the shoulder, trying not to rock the pelvis back either. So we're keeping the hips over the top of the knees. Now if you want to, you can bring in the opposite leg. So you're going to lift up, and if you want to, you can stretch away the opposite leg at the same time as reaching through. And then bring that hand back in to support you. And then the other way. Inhale up and exhale through. Now you don't have to do this one, it's much more of a balance challenge, but give it a go if you think you can. Opposite leg and arm, otherwise you will fall over. Lovely, okay. And then we're going to sit back on our heels and reach forward and really sink nice and low into that stretch. And then we'll walk our hands around in one direction. Again, sink nice and low to the floor. Get that nice side stretch. And then we'll walk around the other way. Get the same stretch the other side. And then back to the centre, and we'll walk ourselves back upright. And let's change ends of the mat now for the sideline bits and pieces the other way around. So if you pop your headrest at the other end, and we'll get back in clams 2 position. So if you remember, that was crook lying, so 90 degrees behind the knee. When you lift your feet up in the air, they should be roughly level with your bottom and your shoulders. Now you're going to make sure your hips are stacked on top of each other, remember? You want to actively push away that top hip, the top line, to open up a bit of space at your waist, which you're going to try and preserve all the way through this exercise. So we engage the core. We take a breath in, and then we exhale to lift, and inhale to lower. And again, exhale to lift, and inhale to lower. So keeping everything else nice and still, and trying to keep the core contraction going all the way through the set. We've got 2 more to do. Okay, and then remember we've got that lift and lower next, so we bring the feet to the floor and straighten out. So we're in a nice straight line from bottom hand to bottom foot. We can have hand on the hip if you can, but we can have a hand here for balance support if you need it. Now we're lengthening through the top line again to preserve that space at the waist, which we're going to try and maintain. And then we're going to take a breath in to prepare. Exhale to lift the top foot. Inhale to bring the second one up. Exhale to bring them both down together. Take a breath in and exhale to lift. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Remember, you can do it with hand on hip if you're able to. But if you're taking away that top hand, make sure you're not relying too much on the lower hand. You want to make sure that that's nice and relaxed. The lower hand is heavy on the floor, but we're not pressing through it dramatically. Trying to keep your kneecaps and your ankles pointing forward. Now if you're able to, you can try lifting both together, remember. But we're trying to maintain that little space at your waist. So as you lift, you're really stretching away, reaching away further with that top line so that we don't collapse in at the waist. All right, and remember there was another way we can challenge this one. It's by holding that position and extending away the top line. Bring them back together and then down. So you choose your level, whichever one challenges you enough, but that you're able to do in a quality way. Keeping hold of those core muscles to help you with your balance and side line as well. Okay, we're going to do one more. Lovely, okay, and then we're going to bend the knees, and we're going to come up onto our elbows now. So we are balanced on the elbow, which is directly under our shoulder, so perpendicular forearm here. Hips are stacked on top of each other. We're nice and upright through the rib cage to start with, and then when you're ready, we engage the core and we drop down. And then we're going to push all the way back up. So we exhale to control it down, and we inhale to push back up. So we're actually working all the little muscles around our shoulder girdle here, but we're also giving ourselves a bit of a lumbar side bend at the same time. So it's mobilizing the lower back and strengthening the shoulder. Okay, we'll make that the last one. We're going to stay nice and upright now, and we're going to do a side kick. So we engage those core muscles if we haven't already. We're keeping the hips stacked, and we stretch out that top line. So the foot's at the same height as the hip, you're nice and upright on the shoulder. And then you glide that leg forward, flex the ankle, and pull it back. Point, and forwards, flex, and back. So remember, with this one, we're going as far with the leg as we can without overbalancing, without counterweighting with the upper half. So everything else should stay nice and still. So the leg might not go as far as it actually is capable of going, but you might not be able to control it with the upper half. So remember, we're drawing a line with the toe as we come forward, and then rubbing it out with the heel as we push back. We're going to do one more, and on that last one, we're going to leave it forward, flex the ankle, and then 10 quick little pulses, staying nice and upright on the shoulder. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Glide the leg back, and then relax it back down again. Okay, now as long as we can stay upright on the shoulder, it's not hurting, we're going to do the side bend. So palm up to the ceiling, push up nice and high. Take a breath in, and exhale to lift up and over, and inhale back down again. And again. Exhale, up and over, and inhale back down. So we'll do 3 more. Keep those core muscles working, keep it nice and smooth. Make sure we're not dropping the rib cage once the hip taps down. Last one. Good, well done. Okay, we're going to roll onto our backs for some stretches now. So if you get your headrest supporting you again, and we'll do some glute stretches, so stretches for the bottom cheeks. So we're going to pop right ankle onto left knee, and then left knee towards you, until you feel a stretch in the back of the right hip in the buttock area, and we're just going to hold that stretch gently. There's some right in my eyes now. Okay, then we're going to keep the legs crossed. We're going to gently bring the left leg to the floor, close the gap between the knees, and take both knees over to the right hand side as you look to your left. So now you should feel a stretch somewhere around the left hip. And we come back to the centre. We're going to uncross the legs and go the other way. So left ankle onto right knee, and then right knee towards you now for that glute stretch again on the left hand side. Okay, and then we'll pop the right foot to the floor, but keep the legs crossed. Close the gap between your knees. Take both legs to the left as you look to your right. So again, same stretch now on that right hand side. You're getting a bit of a spine twist as well, so you might feel the stretch higher up, and that's fine. You're basically pushing one knee down with the other one. Okay, and then back to the centre, and we'll uncross the legs. And we'll bring both knees to our chest now and do a few little circles. So, little circles with the knees to loosen out the hips and loosen out the low back. And then we'll go into a deeper lumbar stretch. So you can either do that by bringing your knees to your chest completely, or you can hold onto your feet and go up into that happy baby stretch. So this is a yoga position, really. You're keeping your knees and your feet nice and wide. You're aiming for a 90-degree angle at your knees. Feet are flat up to the ceiling. And you're putting a bit of pressure on your feet to try and pull your knees towards your armpits. Now, not everybody's going to be able to get in that position. You can hold on to your trousers or your ankles to make it more achievable. Make sure your shoulder blades are being drawn back as well. So you're aiming ultimately to have your whole back on the floor. And then we're going to bring feet together, heels towards your bottom and knees out to the side a little bit. And you should be getting a bit of an inner thigh stretch now. You might find that you get more of a stretch by bringing your feet to the floor, so it's up to you. You can either do that position or this position. If you're doing feet on the floor, make sure you're not dramatically arching your back away. Tuck your tailbone under a little bit so you're nice and flush and level across the pelvis. Okay, now we're all going to bring our knees together and our feet to the floor, and we'll do a few little pelvic tilts. Now you can do a pelvic tilt backwards and forwards, or you can do some little rotations through the pelvis, and we're just aiming to loosen out any stiffness you may have created there by doing those deeper stretches. Okay, all right, now we'll come up upright, so we're going to roll onto our side and push up, and that's the end of this session. Thank you very much.